In this presentation, we'll be discussing the implications and the importance of the New York World Fair of 1939. The World Fair was erected on what was an ash dump. The fair was heavily influenced by the streamlined modern style of Art Deco, and the architectural design was also influenced by Le Corbusier. The New York World Fair had two seasons. The first season, April 30th to October 31st, and the second season in 1940, May 11th to October 27th. So what was the New York World Fair about? The theme was building the world of tomorrow, which echoed in virtually every corner of the fair. The World's Fair was a look to the future. It was planned to be every month's fair where the generic public would be able to see what could be attained for himself and his community. Over 206,000 visitors appeared on the first day, despite some of the pavilions which were still under construction and not yet open. The World Fair was wedged between the Great Depression and the World War II. Stock markets had crashed in 1929. Major companies like Ford had lost a huge amount of money and the Ford Model T production was forcing to an end. Many were afraid it was the end of the great American dream. About 13 million people were unemployed, whilst nearly half the banks of America had failed. People were losing homes, investors had sunk their shares, there was a sudden panic in what was going on. Was it all a mockery? Will America ever recover from this? Meanwhile, across the world, Germany had invaded Poland, Britain had come out of the World War, and Spain had just finished its civil war. Westinghouse was founded in 1886 by George Westinghouse, who was an electrical manufacturing company responsible for electrical infrastructure across the country. The company showcased the latest developments in electrical and mechanical science. The building was inspired by a horseshoe. It was 25,200 square feet. The two wings were 55 foot high. The showcase boasts of a 120-foot fountain in the center, which played synchronous symphony of color, sound, and water. This attraction is still found in places like Dubai, Turkey, amongst many others, as an attraction for visitors and sightseers. They showed behind the scenes of many activities of the company, of which one example was the dishwasher. The company took a very different approach in building their platform, showcasing the building with glass exterior. The idea behind this was so onlookers and visitors could go past and see what was actually going on inside, causing curiosity. The 150-foot illuminated tower marks the location of the time capsule containing pertinent data on present-day civilization. The time capsule was made from cupalloy, a non-ferrous metal alloy made specifically for this project. It weighed 800 pounds and it was 7 foot long, buried 50 feet below Flushing Meadows. There were 75 types of fabrics and metals, a pack of Camel cigarettes, microfilm, a $1 in change, issues of Life and a seed bank, everything that made up the 1939. It's currently still buried in Queens. The time capsule was built with such thought, scheduled to be cracked open in 6939, exactly 5,000 years after it was put underground. If you just think and comprehend how far ahead they had planned for people they'd never actually meet, and reactions they will never actually see, uncertain of whether we'd even appreciate the progress made. Another novelty feature was the water tunnel, where visitors could pass through the tunnel and go right through the waterfall. It was mainly a showpiece, much like the Niagara Falls attraction. Electro was a robot built by Westinghouse in 1937 and 1938. It was a 7-foot tall robot making its debut, designed by Westinghouse, and had a then impressive 700-word vocabulary articulated through a 78 RPM record player embedded in the bot's body. It could lob insults like, "My brain is bigger than yours." It could walk, make vaguely creepy comments about women, and smoke cigarettes. It was artificial intelligence of 50 years ago. 1928 we saw one of the first humanoid robots which exhibited at the annual exhibition of the Model Engineer Society in London. It had aluminium body and 11 electromagnets, one motor powered by a 12-volt power source. The robot could move its hands and head, and it could be controlled through a remote control or voice control. In 1926 Westinghouse built Televox, just before Electro. It was a simple cardboard cutout connected to various devices which could be turned on and off. 1986 saw Honda engineering Asimo. Asimo is still currently present With over 2 decades of research, Asimov can now walk like a human, climb stairs, reach and grasp for objects, respond to voice commands, recognize faces and avoid moving obstacles as it moves through the environment. Android created Ever to Muse, and this robot could sing at the Robot World 2006 conference. She is 5 foot tall and weighs about 135 pounds. Her silicone-covered face has remarkable flexibility, with 29 motors and dozens of joints providing 13 degrees of freedom for self-expression. You can see the different expressions of the robot. In 2008, we see robotics coming in a new form. Caterpillar Inc. had developed a dump truck which can drive itself, autonomous driving, without any human operators. This was created to change the process of mining, making it a lot more efficient. We now see artificial intelligence and robotics coming to greater uses, such as doing surgery operations, as well as self-piloted driving, which Apple and Google are currently working on. 700-foot Trilon and 200-foot Perisphere was dubbed as the spike and ball to less reverent New Yorkers. It was the model of tomorrow. Inside the 18-story Perisphere, in an auditorium the size of Radio City Music Hall, thousands rode on 2 moving balconies and looked down on Democracy, a mammoth model of the city of tomorrow, a city of broad streets, many parks, and large buildings. The Unisphere was dedicated to man's achievement on a shrinking globe in an expanding universe. The theme of the World's Fair was peace through understanding. You could say the Unisphere represented people, immigrants of the time, from different backgrounds, coming together, uniting to create something. You could also say it's a combination of science, technology, design, all put together to create a product and advancement of humans. Come Tour the Future with General Motors. The exhibit had some similarities to Democracy. 1939ers were obsessed with the future. General Motors had a concept of taking visitors on 2-seat cars on a moving track around the edges of the future in a 15-minute ride. It's much like how Cadbury's World take you in what they call a beanmobile and shows the magic of chocolate, showcasing the manufacturing process and the history of Cadbury's as a company. The same concept applies here in reverse order. Rather than looking back, we are looking forward to a brighter future. The method is still commonly used to communicate and give visitors an insight into what was and what shall be. Futurama had over 27,000 visitors a day. At the end of the journey, visitors were given a round pin which read, "I have seen the future." It was a smart publicity to generate curiosity amongst visitors. It got people talking and wondering, what is this future everyone seems to have? The Futurama itself covered 35,000 square feet and made up of 408 separate sections by several skilled artists and craftsmen of the time. It was a visionary of Norman Bel Geddes. From the map you can see the dedicated space given to such a huge scale of thinking. It was the augmented reality of the time, which is now becoming more and more popularized. It was all about taking what exists and taking it a step further, or how it can be improved. The same way virtual reality headsets by Samsung allow customers of Thomas Cook to view their holiday from store prior to booking. Or how Audi allows customers to get a feel of the space when configuring their next car. Would they want red leather interior? Would they want a sporty interior? Would they want any extra features? Being in the virtual space allows customers to get a real feel of what will be. Futurama was a very well predicted insight into what was the next 20 years and what it will bring, and how they were so right. Cars were becoming more and more popular thanks to Henry Ford's Model T during the 1920s, the first vehicle of the common man. Looking at Henry Ford's arrogance, or ignorance should we say, and refusing to update the Model T, General Motors picked up on 2 things: personality and speed. Customers wanted fancy cars to reflect themselves and wanted to be a part of a faster world. They were getting on with life, zooming through progression towards something new. Speed had become an obsession. Despite producing faster vehicles, GM and Bel Geddes were advised by the president of the time, Franklin Roosevelt, on transportation and highway acts, thus making the future of the time a reality. Evidence of this is seen as the 70 miles per hour motorway speed limit had come to Britain in 1965, so accurately thought out by GM. Until then there was no speed limits in the UK. Predictions can't always be 100% right. Bell Geddes predicted there would be 38 million cars in America alone by 1960, almost a third more than in 1940s of the time. In fact, by 1960, there were 74.4 million cars on the road in the US, nearly twice of what Bell Geddes imagined in 1940. This just goes to show the rapid progression. GM Motors didn't just stop with Futurama. They collaborated with Ron Haas and formed a new material called plexiglass to create a see-through vehicle. At the time, it was completely new and nobody had ever seen anything like it. We still see this in this day and age where car manufacturers will create a one-off piece just to show what they are capable of. Nissan recently showcased a golden-painted hand-carved Nissan GTR. The USP of this car is the intricate hand-carved detailing. The body then receives a chrome finish before being painted gold. Ingenious engineers had invented these thrilling rides for visitors. One of them, of which was parachute jumping from a 250 high, 25-foot story building. We still see this in today's day and age in places like Blackpool and fun fairs. Without having evolved much, there was also an aerial ship in which the rider could pilot himself. It's safe, of course, because a cable keeps the ship anchored to a revolving pole. Flash Gordon's own rocket ship, which was 80 foot long and seats 125 people. It was a huge hit at the show, with illusions to show anti-gravity, making the ship appear into outer space. Audience were able to view familiar constellations and then land on the planet Venus. There were animated images of prehistoric animals and Martians, presenting a fascinating show. In actual fact, it was just a movie flashed on the screen. This could be compared to 4D and 5D cinema we see. In comparison to the Great Exhibition of 1851, both had the same sort of celebration to showcase what they had made: fax machines, steam engines, etc. The construction and planning was extravagant. Unfortunately, both had an unexpected event where one had burnt down and the other was affected by the World War II. Despite these disasters, the main benefit was the public gained knowledge of what we are capable of and how bright the future can be. It allowed them to appreciate what we had and appreciate the thought that goes behind such projects. It gave them a sense of, I want to own that something. It also allowed motivation for the younger generation to move forward to a brighter future. After years of neglect, structures are being refurbished. New York had begun to realize how important that fair was despite its financial loss, and how much it had represented an era to millions of Americans. It was a time where the possibilities of the future looked so bright, and its possibilities seemed to be just around the corner. It was a perfect example of never losing hope, no matter how bad the situation may seem at the time. There is always light at the end of the tunnel.